Yeah.
To that point, I think resumes are dying very quickly. I think in 5 years it's not going to be a thing, because they're pieces of paper that either don't share the right data, share too much data, or share too little data. It's very rare. You look at a resume and you're like, "Mwah, perfect. That's
Yeah.
great. It's everything I need to know," right? So I think the way that I've handled this are two ways. One is I created an acronym years ago called core values,
Mm.
and it's a C.O.R.E, V.A.L.U.E.S, and I write it vertically. And each of them stands for a piece of data I have to get on the call, right? Compensation, what do they look for? Opportunity, reason for leaving, experience, visa, activity, location, unavailability, like vacation, stuff like that,
Fantastic.
evaluation of the candidate, and start date. And that
And
I
that's
would,
for any candidate, no matter what the skill set is. Those are some
doesn't
things you
matter.
just want to make sure you're understanding. And yeah, exactly.
And that's also how I submitted to hiring managers.
Mm.
I didn't write anything. I just gave them the core values and sent it over. So that way, if they want to know something, they can just pick it out. The other pieces, I don't write things down that are on the resume, right? It's a waste of time. I only write things that I'm able to grab. Now, downside is as a recruiter, internal or external, we are generally viewed by hiring managers as not having a clue as to what we're doing, or like they don't really understand. And like a lot of that's kind of true, right? Like technical engineers or bio, pharma, or medical start talking about what they're doing, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's like, well, what do I write down? Right? Like, what do I share? And so it's a shameless plug for Honeit at this point. But I was working with another company before I started talking to you guys that did call recording.
Mm.
But it was like the entire call. It was rough. But one of the advantages, if you guys haven't used Honeit, definitely at least try it out, is I take kind of the guesswork out of it, or I guess you guys take the guesswork out of it. And I think one of the ways to build trust is to not have trust factor into the equation. So
Mm.
if hypothetically, if there were a technology that recorded the phone call and you literally had sound bites created of every question you asked, right? And your submittal was those sound bites that you could send directly over so that hiring managers on their own time, right? They're driving to work or using the bathroom or out at lunch and are just like listening on their phone to the interview, but only the questions that are relevant. Right? And let's say this technology enabled you to get questions from the hiring manager they want answers for, right? So like, hey, Mrs. Hiring Manager, what are the 5 questions you asked during your phone screen? Great. Hey, I'm going to ask them and just record their answers and send that to you. And then you can listen. You don't have to spend your time doing a phone screen. You can do it on your own time whenever you want. We can push the process faster, right? Like if there were a technology that could do that, it would be so awesome, right? Like, totally
Ooh.
shameless plug
Thank you.
for Honeit, but it's true. I think we're
Yeah.
moving more to a point where if we're using technology intelligently, the the written data that like the candidates providing or that the recruiters providing all has a slant, right? It has unconscious bias. I don't mean to quotes. It has unconscious bias. And it's also just a selection of things that they've taken over time to really think about and hone in and write versus, hey, let's provide the submittal as the interview itself, right? And at that point, we're kind of elevating the way that we view recruiting. It's why I don't send written notes anymore. Like I'm only using. I know I don't mean to be shamelessly plugging your product. I know it's embarrassing, but like that's the only thing I send anymore as a submission because that way I'm knocking off a round of interviews and there's never a like, no, how much of this is like fluff, Batman loves this candidate and blah, blah, blah. There's no more like, oh, I love this person. They're so great. Look at what it's like, hey, I asked these questions. You told me to ask these questions. Here's all their answers. You can hear their personality, their communication style. And I think if we're able to evolve all portions of the recruiting process to be able to move seamlessly and in line with the process. And what I mean by that is the process is a person does a thing and needs to explain to these people what they do. These people are doing a thing and need to explain to this person what they do and see if there's an alignment. Both, do we do the same thing? And are you a cool human that I want to work with? And any point in the process where we can kind of automate that and maybe even not automate, maybe make more transparent,
Right.
right? Take down all filters and blocks and speed bumps and just boop, here it is, boom, go forward. I think that's going to be a lot of the future of where we're heading as an industry.
I love it.